All right, welcome back everybody to another edition of Dollar Bin Digging. This is the article and video that I do for comicbookinvest.com where I talk about those little hidden treasures you might still find in those dollar bins, those cheap boxes you might have at your LCS, flea markets, yard sales, wherever you find your cheap comic books. These are the things you might be able to still stumble across hidden in those boxes when you go out digging. Now, hopefully you're enjoying this series just as you are all the other things here on Rennavision. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. And yeah, keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel and do more fun giveaways and things like that. Make sure you join us for the live shows on Sundays and on Wednesdays. And if you want to see this week's Dollar Bin Digging offerings, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I've got a whole selection of books ready to share with you. Okay, so for this week, I have a few more books that are some Marvel, some DC, and I even have some outside of out that kind of really a little bit. Anyway, just some more books that are some based off of rumors, news, speculation, some of the first appearances of things that you might still be able to find out there in those cheap boxes when you go digging. Now, going off of this kind of like news theme, I'm just kind of having fun, just going with the recent stuff. These are the things that kind of pique my interest and get me looking in those boxes when I go out digging myself. Now, first up, last week's issue of Amazing Spider-Man number 87. It was kind of like tying back into, the Beyond Corporation and what they might be doing with this clone, Ben Riley. Like maybe they're utilizing him. I mean, the article kind of referenced like Winter Soldier, but could they be using him? And just the idea of this big bad evil corporation is, a very familiar one and one we've seen plenty of times before. And it's just something we might see play out a little bit more as it looks like they're creating more of a rogues gallery with the introduction of this week of the Goblin Queen or whatever for Ben Riley that they're going to try to sustain another book outside of the Peter Parker who will be returning very soon. Now, the Beyond Corporation goes all the way back to Next Wave Agents of Hate. Warren Ellis's fantastic run. I've talked about this series a number of times. It was a great read, and now this is a book that a lot of people have already been looking for because it's the first red-haired Elsa Bloodstone or whatever. I don't know if that's the reason you should be going and investing in this book, but I think you should be going and getting this book just because it's awesome. But this is the first appearance of the Beyond Corporation, and the chances are slim that you're going to find any more of these in the dollar bins. I think they've probably been picked pretty clean at this point over the last few years. But yeah, if you would have listened to me the first time I told you, you might have gotten yourself a couple. Now, as you can see here, 85 bucks one just sold for today. And then if you want to go shopping there, depending on condition, there's copies available for $45, $55, etc. But $85 today is showing you this is not a cheap book anymore. So I just want to mention it because that is the first appearance of the Beyond Corporation. But the Warren Ellis storyline at first was supposed to be taking place outside of Marvel, 616 continuity. They have since reincorporated those, next wave stories into the regular universe with Elsa Bloodstone coming in with the red hair and everything. And, Photon or Captain Marvel. But that all being said, the Beyond Corporation, however, really wasn't brought into the kind of MCU proper, I guess, really until this Captain America and the Mighty Avengers issue 6, where it's kind of one of those weird, wonky stories. But this thing just kind of ties in how the Beyond Corporation being here. I mean, it's just a minor little footnote, a tiny little story you might just want to check out and read. I'm not saying this book's going to be worth anything or is the new hottest thing or anything like that. It's just a fun little footnote and something you can keep an eye out for if you're digging in a box because this is a very cheap book. This isn't a hard to find book either. I don't know how many were printed, so maybe it will get hard to find if people look for it, but I mean, nobody's really looking for it. Just weird little stories, and as I said, it kind of ties into that Beyond Corporation stuff, and who knows where we might see that going forward. I can't even give you one that sold individually. There was a couple of lots that sold, but individually, I didn't have anything to share as far as pricing goes on this one. But if you wanted to go buy one online, you could see it's $1.29 to cover price. Like this is a very cheap book, so it is what it is. It's just I was looking into stuff, and from what I gathered, I'm doing a little bit of research on the Beyond Corporation. This is kind of where they were brought into the regular Marvel universe, and It is what it is. It's just a little footnote of a story. But that's the first kind of quick little thing. I think I got like a few today. I got maybe about 6 different topics to go over. So there's our first one. The next one is going to tie into the Peacemaker series over on HBO Max, which I think you should be checking out if you aren't, because I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I think it's a lot of fun. And even though it started off a little wonky at first for me, I'm like, I don't know if I can really get into this. Not that there's anything wrong with the first episode. It's just I didn't know if the tone it was going to work, but it has. And I've been liking the episodes ever since. So just watched today's episode not too long ago as well. So another good one that's over on HBO Max. But if we go back to last week and even this week, because it kind of ties into this week, last week, Peacemaker mentioned that his first villain that he faced off against was Kite Man. And it came up again today when he was talking to some students in this most recent episode where he brought up his first battle up against Kite Man. Now, you're not finding the first appearance of Kite Man in a dollar box. You're just not. I mean, that goes all the way back. I think this is what, Batman 139 or something like that, or 133. Way back. This is an old issue of Batman, so you're not finding first Kite Man in a dollar box. But what you might be able to still find in those cheap boxes, those maybe not a dollar, maybe $2, but one of those cheap bins, those cheap back issues, are the that little ballad of Kite Man, the 2 issues that told that little story throughout it in the Batman Rebirth that just kind of really just was the perfect encapsulation of Kite Man and what it is to be Kite Man. So you might be able to find this in Batman issues 27 and 30 has a part 2 of this Ballad of Kite Man story. So it's just a fun little thing, great little read just to check it out. And that's also what this series is also about. Not everything is about speculation and investing. Some of this stuff, and I make picks based off of some of this stuff, just good reads. Sometimes it's just good cover art. Sometimes there is stuff that could be a first appearance or something that's worth grabbing because who knows what might happen. And again, who knows what might happen with something like this, but realistically, this is just for the story and for you to get a good read, for a buck or two. Now, like I said, this is the issue 27 is the first one. So I'm just going to look at the first one, and that's the start of the Ballad of Kite Man. And then, the issue 30 is part 2. And this is, again, not that expensive of a book, but, depending where you find it, you might see it sell for, like $7 just a couple of days ago, January 31st. And if you want to go buy a copy, you can see it's not that expensive. There's copies out there for $2, $3. So it's less than cover in a lot of cases. Or maybe not a lot, but in some cases, it's cover price or less. You can find this. So you can probably find it in a cheap box too, because this war of, I think it was the war of jokes and riddles. It was the Joker and Riddler like face-off storyline, and War of Jokes and Riddles. I don't know why I had to reach for that. That story that was heavily printed because it was heavily ordered because a lot of people are looking forward to it. And we got this sexified Riddler, which I didn't really care for all that much, that kind of rendition of him. But hey, it is what it is. Still a great Kite Man story in these 2 issues, and just want to keep an eye out for him. And then sticking with Peacemaker, like early on, I thought about talking about his father's, first appearance. His father's, the White Dragon. But after like this, the last episode or 2, he's not just a side character anymore. Like this could be a legitimate villain for Peacemaker and the squad to face before this season is over. So I think it's more worth looking into now than maybe it was right at the start when we found out that I thought it was just an Easter egg. Thought it was just gonna be an Easter egg, but now it looks like it's a bigger part of the story. But we did get a little bit more again for today's episode with his dad actually resuiting up with his cadre of followers and putting on this White Dragon suit that we saw earlier in the season. So White Dragon's first appearance was in the character who is White Dragon, the Suicide Squad issue 4 is the first appearance of William Hell, I think they call him. I think Teller. Trying to remember the name, but that was the first appearance of the character in the DC universe. And granted, this first initial look isn't what he ends up looking like, even in the comics, where he does look very much like that suit we saw in Peacemaker that Robert Patrick puts on. But this was the first appearance, so this is the one you probably want to keep an eye out for more than anything else. And you can see it's not that expensive, that it still sells for under $10. January 31st, one sold for $8.40, but it could start going up if more people start looking for this thing again as the character's profile increases as the Peacemaker show continues on. Now, copies that are available, they are getting pricier. As I said, look, sure, there's under $6, but then we're getting 10, 13. You're going to start seeing them kind of tick up the asking prices, I think, on this one. So go back to those boxes, go digging for those old Suicide Squad issues, and you might find something like this in there, because a lot of these are very, were ignored books that nobody was looking for. nobody was looking for a lot of this stuff. So you might be able to still find those issue fours buried in those cheap boxes out there. But that being said, we're going to keep this thing rolling because, like I said, I do have a few different offerings today, and go back over to Marvel. And if you're reading the Devil's Reign storyline, they're kind of showing the Purple Man's children, like these. They're they're kind of messed up. Like, yes, they may be anti-heroes, but still, you gotta kind of have to fear anybody with the Purple Man's power. Like that mind control kind of power is something that it could really cause some problems, and it could, who knows where they could take this thing, especially with these kids and multiples of them. You know what I mean? Like they could, who knows where this is actually going to end up going. But as I said, this was all playing out kind of in this Devil's Reign issue 3, which is again recent issue that came out, where we're looking at these the Purple Man's kids, and yeah, looks like they're going after their dad. We'll see. But if you want to find out when they first appeared, you got to go back to Daredevil issue 8. And you can see that right on that cover. You can see it's a gorgeous purple cover. Like it'll pop right at you. You know that Wade and Chris Samney run. It's fantastic. So again, another for the read alone, pick it up. But who knows what might happen with the children of Purple Man. So keep an eye out for them, and because their first appearance is in that issue 8 of that series. So all right, so what is this thing actually selling for when you go out there checking on the market? It's not that expensive yet. Like it can sell for a couple of bucks. There's copies that could sell as cheap as $1, like earlier in the month, but the most recent sale was about $6 on January 30th. So you can see it could sell for a little over cover, but it's mostly cover price or less for the most part. And if you go out there shopping, same thing as well. You can see there's copies available at $3.99. Like this is cover price or less out there. So you can probably find this in a cheap box if you go a digging. So just a fun little book, and like I said, another great read. So you have that going for you too. So don't forget, these little funny books that we have can actually be opened and read. That's another thing that they could do for you. It's not all just about buying it just so you can sell it to somebody else for a profit. You can actually enjoy it for yourself. That all said, our next bit of dollar bin digging is going to come from some casting announcements for Titan season 4. So we're kind of going back to DC again. I know I don't usually talk about DC, but I'm trying to talk a little bit more about in the recent days. But we have some casting for Brother Blood, Mother Mayhem, and Jinx for season 4. So all three of these characters are interesting, and Titans alum and villains, things we've seen, even like Jinx we've seen on Teen Titans Go. We all seen Brother Blood on Teen Titans Go, and just stuff from the comics, stuff from the shows that we're now going to see in this more harsh adult version, I guess you want to call the Titans on HBO Max. But both Brother Blood and Mother Mayhem can be found together with their first appearance in New Teen Titans issue 21. They both first appear here, so you get a twofer if you can go and dig this one out of the box. It is both of their first appearances, so this is one to go digging for. I think keep an eye out for it. Copies on this actually don't sell all too bad. I mean, $20, one sold for just yesterday. So if you do find one, you already can be making yourself a couple of bucks. Out goes up a little bit once we start seeing some more stills and the show actually comes out. But I know TV spec, streaming spec isn't quite the same as movies, but hey, you never know. This isn't a CW show, so people do kind of pay attention to the HBO Max stuff, I think. But if not, hey, again, you get a first appearance for cheap if you can go dig it out of a cheap box. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not telling you go out there and spend $20 on this. I'm telling you go find it for $1 or $2 in a cheap bin, and then it's a worthwhile pickup. Maybe not at $20. But there are copies out there. If you do want to buy them, look, $5, $14. There's even cheap copies. If you want to buy one for yourself online, you don't feel like digging, I understand. You can do it, but just keep an eye out. When you're digging in the box, you hit Teen Titans run, keep an eye out for 21. And while you're looking for 21, you might as well just keep digging because a few issues later, you're going to get Jinx. So if you keep digging all the way to 37, you might get the first appearance of Jinx, who looks nothing like the Teen Titans Go version of Jinx, but it is what it is. It looks like, as far as the casting goes, they might be leaning more towards the comic version rather than the Teen Titans Go version, but we shall see. Only time will tell as we get, again, some more information outside of just casting news. But Jinx's first appearance, again, is in issue 37, so that's just another one for you to keep a lookout for when you're digging. You can see the rest of the crew there from the Fearsome 5. I think that was the the villains that faced off against the Titans quite a bit. Just something to keep an eye out for. What does this thing sell for? Well, you can see it still sells pretty cheap. $1.25 back in December, won 2 bids at an auction. Cheap book. Again, this is cheap stuff. And if you want to go buy one, well, it might cost you more than $1, but still $8 to $13 isn't too bad at this point. Now, that all being said, I do have one more little offering to tell you to keep an eye out for. And it's sort of DC, but it kind of isn't because it's a property that isn't really, DC universe related, which is why I hemmed and hawed at the beginning about, well, I got Marvel DC and a little extra. And that little extra is going to be based off of the Uncharted movie that we are getting in just a couple of weeks that's coming out. As you can see, I do have my Hughes Uncharted next to me because that was a book that I got last year as part of my my hunt list. One of those books that I wanted forever, and I finally found a copy, but didn't find it for $1. I wish I did, but I did not. I paid more than $1 for it. But you might be able to find. Again, it's not going to be easy. I'm not saying these are going to be easy. I'm just saying be mindful and keep an eye out for it if you are not already doing so. The whole series of Uncharted. There's only 6 issues, so keep an eye out for all 6 issues of this run because you might be able to do all right for yourself. Even now, again, you got the Hughes cover here, which is the 1 in 10, so it's going to be impossible if you find it. Great. This thing is again hard to find, and I like it. Like I said, I'm happy I finally found one. But the regular issues are also worth picking up if you can stumble across them for cheap. So you got issues 1, 2, and 3, and as I mentioned, 4, 5, and 6 will complete this run. I'm just going to give you some numbers just kind of on the whole series and just kind of issue 6 just to kind of demonstrate. You never know which issue is going to hit as far as, rarity and tough because people want a complete set. So, they're going to go digging. And if they can't find the issues they need, sometimes every issue could be worth a few bucks. And even though issue 1's probably the gem of the group because it's the first appearance, you can still see the whole set can sell for $72 with 13 bids, which is actually on the cheaper side because we look at some of the asking prices out there. A lot of them are north of 100, 150 for the whole sets right now. As you can see, 140. There's one right there of issues 1 through 6, and you can see issue 6 on its own. Somebody's asking $15. You don't often see like the individual issues outside of issue 1 sell. Or even be listed, which is why I'm telling you it's good idea to keep an eye out for it because while you do find sets, somebody out there who is also trying to complete that set might need that one issue that you can find for $1 and you can sell it to somebody else for $15, $20 and just make yourself a couple of bucks or slowly build out your own set over time. Maybe you get lucky, you find the whole thing. Again, 6 issues, who knows where you're going to end up, but that's it. That's what I got for you this week. Just the hodgepodge randomness of just some of the stuff based off of the news and rumors and things that we have coming. And I don't know. Hopefully you like this kind of format that I've been doing the last few weeks. I kind of like doing it because after doing this is episode 1, or I should say episode or article 178. I've been doing this quite a while now. So I've told you about plenty of dollar bin books. Even if you go back to the Madam Web casting rumors that we're talking about Dakota Johnson possibly being cast as maybe a younger version of Madam Web. I talked about this 2 years ago, almost 2 years to the day, February 2020. I had an article in Dollar Bin Digging, I think like 76. Just go back and check it out. You can see a listing of some Madam Web options that I offered you 2 years ago that you could have found in cheap boxes. So this is what I'm talking about. Fun stuff. Just find the cheap books, go digging, look for some of these weird things that I recommend. Might be nothing, but you never know. Down the line, it could be something. Keeping it tucked away in a box for all you care. As long as you're paying basically nothing for it, and I'm talking about like $1 or $2, it's worth it. It's worth the gamble. Who knows? That being said, hope you enjoyed this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And make sure you check out the article on comicbookinvest.com. And I'll be back with some more content soon. So thanks for checking in and stopping by. And I'll have more books for you to talk about later.